This week, we're spotlighting Rory McIlroy's remarkable victory at the 2025 Masters, a win that not only completed his career Grand Slam, but also showcased his exceptional mental resilience. After 17 attempts at Augusta, McIlroy faced the familiar pressures and challenges that have tested him over the years. He began the final round with a double bogey and encountered further setbacks. Yet he demonstrated unwavering composure and focus, and his journey culminated in a playoff where he secured the elusive green jacket. In this episode, we'll explore 5 key mental strategies that Rory employed to overcome adversity: embracing the worst case scenario, staying present, positive self talk and support, maintaining focus through a game plan, and keeping perspective. Join us as we discuss these strategies and how they can be applied beyond the golf course, in sports, and everyday life. Welcome to the Confident Common Clutch Car Ride Conversations. I'm your host, Valerie Alston, here to help parents and young athletes spark meaningful dialogue about mental toughness, resilience, and confidence. Whether you're headed to practice, a game, or just running errands around town, this podcast is your go-to for building stronger relationships and lifelong skills, one car ride at a time. Let's dive into the mental game that led Rory to the Masters' glory. Even if you're not a golf fan, hopefully you heard last weekend, it was news everywhere because Rory's been working on this for a while, that he finally won the Masters tournament, and it was not easy. He certainly had many bright spots and playing well, but he also had some setbacks and double bogeys, etc. The beauty of Rory's story is that he works, one, his endurance to keep pushing and keep trying, but specifically his importance to me and you all is that he very extensively works with a sports psychologist, Bob Rotella, who's pretty famous in the golf world. And that work was talked about very regularly in his interviews after winning. And so we have a lot. Rory is very open about his use of these skills. And so, since many of you, as young athletes, are trying to use these skills yourselves, why not discuss some of the things that he uses? So, let's talk about what propelled him to success. First and foremost, the dream, right? This isn't one of the specific skills we're going to be talking about, but it's important, is having a dream, having a goal, something that really matters to you that's worth pursuing. And that was something very important for Rory, in particular, getting the career Grand Slam. Okay. So let's talk about the first strategy that he utilizes that helped him alleviate some of his anxiety and worry. So the first thing that he talked about is embracing the worst case scenario in order to alleviate anxiety. So Rory employs a counterintuitive strategy to help manage performance anxiety. And what he really does, and believe it or not, this is a tool that actually the Army uses quite a bit, called contingency planning, mental rehearsal. But Rory visualizes the worst possible outcome. And some of you might think, well, that's weird. Wait, I thought we weren't supposed to think of the bad things going wrong. Here's the caveat. He visualizes it from the perspective of grounding himself and recognizing that that outcome he's envisioning, that scary outcome, is actually not that big a deal in relation to life. Okay, so that it helps him separate golf from life. And by confronting those scenarios mentally, it helps reduce the power over him. And so, from his quote exactly, if you're trying to overcome anxiety or nerves around performance, I try to think about, well, what's the worst that could happen? I'm not going to die on a golf course, right? And so, again, that helps him really make sure that he's keeping golf, his sport, in perspective. And yes, it absolutely matters to him. He wants to win. In fact, as a professional, it is his job. He's going to earn more money and endorsements, etc., if he wins. However, it's still, by thinking of that while you're playing, it destroys your ability to play loose and have a good time and actually unlock your potential. The other way that that comes out for Rory is he talked about dealing with the heartbreak or the strong disappointments from his past. And I know a lot of people will, especially young athletes, that when they have a major disappointment, They let that defeat them. They let that dictate how hard they try. And so Rory explains this very eloquently, so I'm going to use his quotes. It happens in all walks of life. At a certain point, someone doesn't want to fall in love because they don't want to get their heart broken. Instinctually, as human beings, we hold back sometimes because our fear of getting hurt or disappointed, whether that's a conscious decision or subconscious decision. And he explains that I was doing that on the course a little bit for the last few years. Once you go through that, once you go through those heartbreaks and those disappointments, you get to a place where you remember how it feels when you wake up the next day and you're like, yeah, life goes on. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Okay, so that was a quote directly from Rory. And again, this approach helps him play with more sense of freedom, knowing that he can handle those tough situations. So if he does lose again, if he does have a disappointment, he can play, right? He's still gonna pursue his goals and what matters to him. And that keeps him grounded and focused. The second strategy is cultivating resilience by focusing on the present moment. Throughout the tournament, Rory demonstrated remarkable resilience, especially after the setbacks of the double bogeys on the first hole in the on Sunday. And so his ability to refocus was really crucial, and this is going to be important for every athlete. And so his quote about this was, "I still felt after the tee shot on 15 that I was still in it." And he was remembering the fact that a couple years ago, another golfer double bogeyed the first hole and ended up winning the tournament. And so he was trying to win keep all of that in mind. And so his phrase again was, I didn't want to think about what it would mean. I just wanted to hit the shot that I need to hit when I need to hit them. And that focus helped him just be in the golf shot he's in and not worry about everything surrounding the particular event itself. And so your burdens might be different than Rory's. Your pressures are probably different than Rory's. But by concentrating on the next shot or the next play or the next action that you need to take, rather than dwelling on mistakes, you're able to maintain that momentum and that composure because it doesn't do you any good to think about the outcomes while you're performing. Okay. Another thing that's really important is to make sure that you, number three, use your self-talk and support to reframe your challenges. And Rory talks about this in the interview that he just wanted to put one positive thought, string them together so that it all added up to good outcomes. And in particular, one way that that helped him, his caddy actually helped him a vital role in this particular after the 18th hole, and he was now tied after he made a two putt. And after missing the shot that led to the playoffs, his caddy looks at him and says, "Well, pal, we would have taken this on Monday morning." Meaning that if you think back a week ago, or the beginning Monday of the week, and if you'd have asked, I have an opportunity to be in a playoff to win the Masters, would you want that? Or he's like, oh yeah, yeah, that okay. And so it helped him really reframe this. This isn't a threat, right? You didn't just blow the tournament, you're still in it, right? And you would have paid money to be in a playoff opportunity at the beginning of the week. And so that reframe helped Rory approach the playoff with renewed confidence and focus. Now, another thing that was really important for Rory is he maintained his focus by following his game plan. Again, I mentioned that he's been working quite a bit with sports psychologist Bob Rotella, and his pairing partner for Sunday, Bryson DeChambeau, stated that Rory basically didn't talk to him the entire round. And Bob was being interviewed, and he said, "Hey, man, that wasn't against, had nothing to do with Bryson. It wasn't nothing like that. But that was just the game plan all week. And we wanted to get lost in Rory's performance. We just wanted Rory to play his game. We didn't want him to pay attention to what anyone else was scoring or shooting or swinging and how far they were hitting it. We just wanted Rory to play his game." And so this speaks to the importance of, as a youth athlete, as any athlete, is that your performance is your performance and it is not dictated by anyone else's. Now, this is a little bit different in a game like golf or, swimming or track events where you are the only person competing in the sense of like your performance isn't dictated by anyone else's. That's called a closed sport where it's just you. However, in things like softball or baseball or soccer or hockey, right, what the opponent is doing does affect you because you're directly competing against them. But golf is different. Regardless, no matter what kind of sport you play, you have to be focused on what you're doing, not what the opponent or what your other competitors are doing. And so for Rory, really deliberately focusing on his game plan to the exclusion of everything else, it really just helped him stay immersed in his own performance. Okay. Now, the fifth thing that you can take away from Rory's game, and we've spoken to this a little bit, is being able to maintain perspective that this is just a game. Rory's victory at the Masters was a testament to this skill and his perseverance, but he attributes a lot of his resilience to just being able to keep the game in perspective, in particular, his role now as a father. And he says that that's provided him a grounding force that helps him navigate the highs and lows of professional golf. And a quote directly from him, it just puts things in perspective a little bit. My career matters to me and I care very much about it, but at the same time, in quotes, being a dad, it makes hard days a little easier to get over because you got to go home and be with your kid, right? So this perspective allows Rory to approach the game with a sense of balance and understanding that while golf is significant, it's not the entirety of his life. And by recognizing the setbacks on the course don't define him, he can play more freely and recover from mistakes with greater ease. And if you saw the Masters at all, he's embracing his daughter at the end of when he won the title. It it's clear that those personal connections and his reminders that life goes on outside the golf course is really what matters to him. Okay. Now, for you, obviously, I would hope as a youth athlete that you don't have kiddos. But there are other things in your life that really matter. Your relationships with your friends. Maybe you have other hobbies or play other sports, your school life, your family life. So it's really important to remember to not let your whole being get wrapped up, your whole identity get wrapped up in your sports performance. Okay, that is just one thing that you do, one piece of who you are. So the lessons from Rory's Masters victory can offer valuable insights into the mental aspects of high-level performance. If you want to go a deeper dive and hear directly from Rory, I've posted a link of his interviews in the show notes. So if you want to listen to him directly, which I highly recommend, always hearing it from the athlete is a good idea. But before you do that, let's have some conversations. Okay. Of course, I would ask you if you're enjoying these episodes, please leave a review. This helps me share the word and get this episode or this podcast into more people's hands. So thank you for your support. It means the world to me. Now, let's dive into some conversation. So a quick reminder about the rules. There are no wrong answers. Take turns talking and listening amongst yourselves. Try to eliminate distractions as best you can. And remember that you can pause after each individual question and discuss it, or you can just listen to all of them and discuss to your heart's content. Okay, so here are our discussion questions based on Rory's experience. First, how do you remind yourself that sports are just one part of your life and not the whole picture? Okay, this question really encourages you athletes and parents, this is for both of you to discuss, to reflect on your identity beyond the playing field and discuss a little bit about how, yes, sport might be significant to you and that's okay, but it doesn't define your entire self-worth. So discuss that a little bit and what role does sports play in your life? And let's make sure that you have other meaningful things in your life besides sport. Okay. Question number 2. Can you think of a time when focusing too much on winning took away from the fun of the game? Okay, we know that this is a common challenge for youth today. The pressure to win often overshadows your own enjoyment of the sport. And so really reflecting on when that happens for you can help you maybe in the future step back a moment and step out of that over competitiveness to get back to the true reason why we play sport is because it's fun, right? It's enjoyable. And so discuss that amongst yourselves. Your third question. What do you enjoy most about playing your sport? And as a parent, watching your kid play. Okay, regardless of the outcome, whether you've won or lost, what do you actually enjoy about playing? And so the goal here, maybe it's teamwork or growth or the thrill of the game, anything. Just discuss what do you actually enjoy about your sport? And parents too, what do you love about watching your kid play? Okay. Now, remember to keep those conversations rolling, and let's make these car rides count. Thanks again for joining me on Confident, Calm, and Clutch Car Ride Conversations. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with at least one other parent or coach that you could use a little insight from this episode. If you're looking for more weekly tips and mindset shifts and conversations that help you and your athletes stay confident, calm, and clutch no matter the scoreboard, please subscribe to my newsletter at www.confidentcalmclutch.com/newsletter. And if you have any suggestions for topics that you would like me to discuss here on this podcast, go ahead and there's a link in the show notes. Go ahead and send me your topic idea, or you can just DM me at V Alston Coaching on Facebook or Instagram. I look forward to hearing from you all and just I'm curious about what you want to know. All right, y'all. I'll see you next time.